Hey, African Queen Mo family, how are you doing? Welcome to the show. Today we started at 9:40. Yep, sometimes it's going to be 8 o'clock, 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30. Anyway, as long as we have the show on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday evening from 8:30-ish going on to about 10:30-ish, that's when we're going to be on. Yes, so I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a nice weekend. Today I'm here with my colleague. Her name is Susan. Susan, would you like to introduce yourself? She's waving. Hello to the one person who has joined us.
Good evening, everybody. I'm happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to a vibrant conversation.
Yeah. Thank you guys for supporting us. And please remember to invite your friends. For some reason, there's some people who are saying that they can't reach us on YouTube immediately. It seems like we come live after like half an hour of being live. Not really sure why, but I hope that we're going to be, properly synced so that everybody can join us. Today, we have a very important topic. It's about femicide. Sad to talk about it, but we must talk about it, guys. Don't shame away from it. Don't shy away from it. Let's talk about it. These are the hard topics that we need to talk about. We'll be here for about an hour talking about that. The shame of femicide and gender-based violence crimes against women and girls in Kenya. It's very sad that we have this situation. It is a global problem, but if you narrow down to Kenya, it becomes one of those topics that's very difficult to digest for very many people. But the fact is, whether it's difficult to digest or not, there are people who have lost their lives because of this femicide, because of these homicides targeted at women. So, Susan is our lawyer, and she's going to introduce the subject for us today. So I won't take too long in the introduction. I'm just going to allow Susan to go off with it. It will be today, believe it or not, guys. As I was driving, I found protesters, and I actually joined in the march. Maybe I should share that with you first. Do you know, spice up this conversation and make it a little bit more interesting? Let me see here. Let me see if I can find that video file right now. Yep. Today I participated in a protest march with young people who they call themselves defenders. Yeah, GBV, gender-based violence defenders, male gender-based violence defenders, and I was so impressed by them. But let me see if I can find that video. Where is it here? Okay, there it is. Yeah. Don't laugh at me. I'm right there. Hi, guys. I've just come to Gong Road and I have to turn around because I have to videotape these young people who are fighting against femicide on Gong Road. And there's nothing that makes me more proud than seeing our own people fighting against femicide. I totally support them. I love you guys. I love you guys. I have to tell them. I have to tell them that I totally agree with them 100%. Bado mapambano, mapambano, mapambano. Bado mapambano, mapambano, mapambano. Bado mapambano, mapambano, mapambano. Bado mapambano. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. Yes. Yes.
Sote tuko tayari, mauaji ya kijana, sote tuko tayari. Yakija mbele yako wewe kanyaga, tuko tayari. Viva Comrades, viva! Viva! Viva Comrades, viva! Viva! Who are we? Ole Social Justice Center! Ole Social Justice Center! What do we want? Justice for women! When do we want it? Now! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Here! What do we want? Justice for women! Viva Comrades, viva! Viva! Hallelujah, Webaki nyuma sitwaenda na haki. Webaki nyuma sitwaenda na haki. Webaki nyuma sitwaenda na haki.
Okay, tell me a little bit about it. I'm a YouTuber, African Queen Mo. Tell me a bit about it.
So, sisi tunapigania about gender violence.
Gender-based violence, Munaitwa?
Sisi ni Polo Social Justice Center. We come from Kajiado. We organize here against all human rights violations. And today we are marking the beginning of our 16 days of activism campaign. And we are starting with a march from here to Tungong, from Bulbul Tungong, where we'll be addressing all issues pertaining to end femicide campaign.
Amen.
Yeah.
Why is it so many men are involved?
Because we are also fighting for justice for our women, and we are gender champions.
Yes.
We are male warriors against gender-based violence.
Male warriors against gender-based violence, guys. They're here on Gong Road. Everybody should get out of their cars and join them. This is African Queen Mo, Channel Sing, and Femicide now.
Viva!
Bravo.
Asante sana, asante sana. We have to put our money, money where our mouth is, or our mouth where our money is, you know? It's not a matter of just talking, it's a matter of joining them. Look for these people during the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And yeah, Susan, let's continue. What did you think of that?
Well, it just told me that we should all be thinking of something to do in these next 16 days. That it's really important for us to engage in different ways and to create awareness in the spaces that we are. We may not be out there marching, but there's definitely something we can do. And let's make our mark individually as Kenyans and people around the world, just to recognize that these 16 days have been allocated for us to just focus on how we can bring an end to gender-based violence. And actually, it's when you say gender, it's both violence against males and females. Yeah. And there are different components, of course. There's the violence, the physical violence, there's the emotional violence, there's the and of course there's the unaliving, and there's also the abuse that women experience sometimes when it's economical, abuse, which usually ends up being ending up in a violent situation. So let us work. Let's do something, everybody. Congratulations, Queen Mo, for going out on the street and really doing something.
Viva!
And, showing us the way. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, excellent.
That was so much fun.
Yeah.
I just love joining them. I followed them for hours. And you know what I did not show over there, because I was actually lacking in space on my phone. I wasn't ready. I always have to be ready from now on, because there's so much going on, so many protests, so many interesting things to cover. So what I did after that, I went to the shop and I bought water and milk and cookies, and I dropped them off with the guys, and they took a picture. So I mean, next time I'll show you guys the picture, but I actually followed them again, looking for these young people, because we really have to encourage them. So when you say you have to do something, you don't have too much. You can give them money, you can give them, drinks, you can give them just a word of encouragement. They were really encouraged and very happy about this. Yeah.
Yeah. To the YouTubers or those on social media, please just put a post there just to recognize this period of time. So it's the run up to the 10th of December, when we celebrate the Universal Declaration on Human Rights. And so let's all do something during this period. You have 16 days to do it. It was launched today. So if you didn't do something today, do it tomorrow or the next or every day. Yeah. So as Queen Mo says, we're talking about this, and the reason why we're talking about gender-based violence is that the 16 days are being celebrated starting today. And so it's an important thing for us to discuss, for us to do our bit in really, stimulating discussion and, talking about, like Queen Mo said, something that may be difficult to talk about. Reasons being, we may be from families where we have lost loved ones as a result of this, or loved ones we know have suffered very gravely as a result of gender-based violence. And we're seeing it all around. And if you're like me, you've been watching the news and you get traumatized every time you see the news and a young person has been unalived and or so severely attacked, that their lives will be, compromised in one way or the other, and those are scars that people carry throughout their lives. It's not just the scar you can see, but the scar that is inside. So we need to find a way, and we need to work together, and we all need to pull together. It takes everybody really to bring this down. And so it's from every level, from the lowest unit in our country. And what I mean, the lowest unit is from the family to the workplace to the church to the, the other spheres and areas that we are able to influence. All of us is able to influence others. That is the way we were created. We interact. No man's an island. And so let's take this opportunity. And so the news on gender-based violence is I'll just give a bit of news, and then there's something I want us to really talk about. So, run up to last week, we had a number of reports that were released. There's the Kenya National Human Rights Report, Kenya National Human Rights Commission that released a report. The Law Society did too, and the Kenya Civil Society Group also did. And all of them released these reports separately, but all of them said that since the beginning of the Kenya Kwanza government, our human rights and the safety, public safety, and everything has just been going downhill. So they said that the one of them in particular, the civil rights group, said that the Ruto administration has lost direction. So that is a serious sort of indictment against what our government is not doing to keep us safe. We know that this is something that we can see that's affecting us in different ways. Apart from the femicide and the gender-based violence we're talking about, we're seeing violence in other sectors, which is really frightening. Recent news of a house help who was brutalized by her employer, and she was, she's been working there for 2 months, and she was beaten so severely quite often. She said that it was a very difficult space to work in, and she was getting beaten up. Eventually, to get away from it all, she jumped from the 4th floor, and she was found on the ground. Her employer has been arrested, and they've discovered that the employer has a criminal record. This young lady, she's 22 years old. She's in critical condition. She has spinal injuries, a leg fracture. She has been treated previously for head injuries and knife injuries. So she was being battered literally by her employer, who's a lady. So this is something, again, when we're talking about violence, we don't want to see it perpetrated against anybody. And this is a report that came in during this time.
Susan, let me play that report for you. Let me play that report for you. Okay.
The one of the house girl?
Year-old house help is in critical condition at Kenyatta National Hospital after a fall from the 4th floor at Jumuira Heights. Shani Atieno, who had been employed for less than 2 months, reported a violent altercation with her employer that led to her jumping in a bid to escape. Now, police investigating the incident say the employer is also under probe for other criminal offenses. Let's get more from our very own Odie Francis.
Kiambu police are investigating what they believe is a murder attempt involving a young woman who fell from the 4th floor of Jumuira Heights on Monday, November 18, 2024. The victim, identified as Shani Melza Atieno, a house help, was found lying in the apartment's basement after the fall.
Msichana wetu amevunjika spinal cord, amevunjika mguu na kuna bruises mwili yote.
The house help claims she had been enduring physical abuse from her employer for the 2 months she worked for her. On the faithful, she claims to have been attacked with a knife.
Tangu niingie kwa hiyo nyumba. Sina mani.
Una mani?
Ni vipigo tu.
Kupigwa? Wanakupiganga na nini?
Hizo silaha za jikoni. Last time walinigonga mwiko hadi kichwa ikapasuka.
Ikapasuka?
Nilishona hapa tu. Naumia. Nimefungiwa kwa nyumba. Hakuna mtu mwenye anaweza nisaidia. Alienda kutoa nguo nikuje vizuri. Na alishanigonga hizo matisu. Dining chair.
Kisu amekukata wapi?
Mkono. Na kichwa sijui kama katika jua alikuwa ananigonga nazo.
Nini?
Kichwa. Na hiyo kisu tu.
Hospital records from Radiant Hospital indicate that she was treated for a head injury on November 1st, 2024 with a follow-up care on November 4th of 2024.
1 week ago, huyo mama aliingiza rolling pin kwa sehemu yake nyeti ya haja kubwa.
Niyo rola aliniingiza kwa makalio, akatwist. Rola ya chapati.
Really?
Kila siku ananiambianga yeye anaweza niua. Anawezeka bila mtu kujua na kuna wale anaweza pelekwa.
On November 18th, 2024, she was hospitalized again with critical injuries, which the attending doctor confirmed were consistent with severe physical assault.
To evaluate her up to the point that she was going home. She was going to Kenya. She had a fracture in the bone, L1, L2. But that fracture was not displaced. Hiyo inaonyeshwa kwa CT scan.
Na aliniambia mama alimwambia ameshaandika wafanyakazi wengine hata wajulikani mali wako, so yeye hata mshinda.
Police say Lavenda Akinyojilo, who recorded a statement on Monday, is currently under investigation for a series of criminal offences spanning several years and locations. The investigations dates back to 2011 when she was implicated in a break-in and case reported in Makupa police station in Mombasa. She is linked to burglary and stealing in 2018 and 2019 in Kleleshwa. This year, she was arrested in connection with 2 house-breaking and theft incidents that took place in April.
Nataka serikali itu investigate what really happened, because I don't believe sistangu ako somehow depressed. Inyaneza ruka from 4th floor mpaka chini.
Ode Francis, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
What do we say about that kind of thing? Oh my God. For non-Swahili speakers, the kind of torture this girl underwent, guys. Her employer put a rolling pin up her behind. A rolling pin. Think about that. Think about that. She's now in the hospital with spinal injury. You know, somebody who's come to help you in the house has become a victim, and apparently her employer was actually has some offenses. Or what is that? What's going on, Susan, with her employer?
A criminal. She has a criminal record. She has a criminal record, housebreaking, stealing, and stuff like that. But definitely, we hope the police investigate this case seriously, because this is completely unacceptable behavior. It's a shocking video to watch. And, this is violence, which is unacceptable, because the injuries are so serious. The quality of this young lady's life may be altered for the rest of her life, because there's injury to her spine, and she has a leg fracture. And of course, the
this one is a
damage
woman
of
and
the
a
road
woman.
region. Yeah. Yeah, there's something seriously wrong with this person. If you can see she's got criminal tendencies, it means that, you know, probably the deeper mental issues. She could be, this is speculation, she could be psychopathic or something like that. So she's not
Sociopath.
able to,
Murderer.
she could be.
Yeah.
So so this was this was on the news, and I thought to share it with you since we're talking about violence. But just before we go to the meat of it, the Adani issue, of course, it's still a hot topic. We're still talking about it. And the issue is what next? So people were saying, oh, are we going to be charged? Are we going to have to pay some money because we've exited? People are still insisting that just the president saying we've exited is not enough, that we've cancelled the transactions. They want those who were involved in it and who did not do the due diligence to really they want a proper investigation so that it will not be repeated, because it was really about a failure of due diligence, because Kenyans were talking about it everywhere. And even the parliamentarians were going to the August House and giving reports that were sent to them through their constituents. And, you know, stuff like that. Senator Onyonko was very vocal on it. Others, of course, were told by their constituents, why aren't you doing something about this? So the red flags were there, but the government seemed only to take it seriously when somebody from outside spoke about it. And that has sort of upset Kenyans. But be that as it may, we are glad that we hope that they'll follow through on it. And we're not going to see Indani coming in, you know, because politically what happens is, because like I was telling you the last time, is that things have changed. Before, during Goldenberg, in the time of Keita and Somaya and Pakamnesh Patni, it was from outside, external people who were coming, you know, getting the people who they could corrupt in government, say, we have a plan, we can make money this way, you know. And so, but now it's the people who are clever, who want to you know, gain, are in government, and they're looking for people outside to come into cahoots with them. And this suggestion comes out also because even I was listening to a discussion by Omtata, Kia Omtata, and he was showing that the actual PIP, the document that they signed, and he said, this looks like it was drawn by the Kenya Airports Authority. So it looks like it was something that, you know, they looked for somebody outside who was going to partner with them, so that you know, there could be some you know, somebody will be gaining, lining their own pockets. So anyway, that's where we are with that. On JKIA, just for clarification, there was no contract signed. They were still doing their due diligence. And with Ketraco, they had signed a contract, but they have rescinded it or cancelled it because they're saying that honesty is crucial, and the non-disclosure that there were pending issues out there, and that to government is was something that entitles us to terminate. But let's see how that goes, because we've not seen the actual document, so we don't know whether there'll be any losses. But one thing they did say is there's a 3.8 billion non-refundable fee that was paid at the negotiation stage. So that money should be money that was paid to Kenya. So we hope that money was actually received. Yeah, so let's now talk about the femicide. Unless you have some comment to make, let's talk about the femicide. Let's talk about the gender-based violence. Let's just talk about the news on that. So earlier in the day, we had the launch of the 16 days of activism. It was launched in Makueni, in Makueni County. Makueni County has been very sort of active. They have a policy, they have activism in SGBV. Actually, for them, it's 365. It's not just the 16 days. And they have a gender policy, which is part of the county system. And they also have safe houses, about 7 of them, which they've constructed. So for that, because of maybe the way they've really acted, they've really up their game on fighting against gender-based violence, it was thought it would be there. They also had some quite an escalation of, oh, okay. Maureen, just continue talking. I just need to.
Oh, yeah. Okay, no problem. Yeah, let me just play that video then for you, for you here. Okay, on Makueni. Makueni is in Machakos County, by the way, guys. And today they started the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence and basically femicide in the country. So why don't you listen just briefly to this video for you?
Action. Indeed, this campaign is particularly timely given the rising cases of femicide reported in recent months. Just a few days ago, His Excellency the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, expressed his deepest concerns about this vice and allocated 100 million Kenya shillings towards a Safe Home, Safe Space campaign that is aimed at ending femicide, which is described as the most severe manifestation of GBV. The theme for this year resonates deeply with the core values of our nation. It reminds us that the solution lies in our collective responsibility and commitment to gender equality and empowerment of women and girls, in line with the Beijing Platform of Action adopted 30 years ago. The Kenya Demographic Health Survey of 2022 reports that nationally, women experience physical violence more than men, and women between 45 to 49 years of age experience the most physical violence. Married women or in a relationship experience the highest rate of physical violence compared to men. The general prevalence of FGM is also worrying. It is now my singular honor and privilege to declare the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence officially launched.
Where are the aunties? Where are the uncles? Where are the grandparents? I am surprised we stand here to talk, Madam PS, about 97 children. They are not 97. Those are the ones who are reported. I am sure there are more. Yes, no. Poverty is killing these girls. If we do creation of wealth, we shall get out of this problem.
I urge all stakeholders present here, the government leaders, the legislative arm, judiciary, the executive, civil society organizations, the private sector, youth and community leaders to step forward and take decisive actions. To the government, prioritize funding GBV response and prevention programs. Ensure that we have data, ensure that this data is real time, because it is based on data that decisions are made.
Yeah, guys, so that's where we are with our gender-based violence. I mean, there's a lot of activity. You know, once the the president announced 100 million shillings going towards that, you can imagine how many eyes, kind of are eyeing the money. But apart from that, I think it also gave some impetus to the whole movement for people to take it seriously and to feel safe to actually come up with campaigns, because as it's a touchy subject. It's something that is kind of a shame to the nation of Kenya, that we have so many women who are suffering under this GBV and especially under femicide, which is really, unacceptable and unquestionably the worst, I would believe, in Africa, if not next to, I think it must be. We must be like the most violent society in this in this part of the world. What do you think, Susan? Although I've heard other countries like South Africa could be competing with them, but we really shouldn't be trying to compete on negatives. We should be competing on the positives. What do you think?
Yeah, basically speaking, we had a demographic health survey in 2022. So it looked at cases of violence against women 15 years to 49 years. And it sort of showed that I think Bungoma scored the highest with 62% of the cases were in Bungoma, and 34% of them were
You mean for
were in
Kenya? This is
Bungoma.
all just in Kenya, within
Yeah,
Kenya now. Yeah.
yeah. This is the
Mm-hmm.
demographic health survey of Kenya of 2022. We'll be able to maybe look at more deeply in that. But basically speaking, that during the COVID period, apparently there was an increase of 743% of GBV cases in the country, reported in the country. Yeah. And the campaign this year is saying every 10 minutes, at least a woman is killed daily. So every 10 minutes, a woman is killed. And then last year it was
That is a
every,
global figure. Yes, I've heard of
yes.
that. This is
So what
really
they've done,
amazing.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
They put all the figures from all the countries. So it's just showing that it's a problem that really needs to be dealt with some urgency. So mostly, so in Nairobi, I mean, in Kenya, they were concentrating on, at the launch, they talked about the budget apparently for dealing with women's issues is 0.02% of the national budget. So there's need for an increase in investment to take care of this. And also there's a need to call upon community leaders to advocate against GBV and harmful practices. They were focusing on, they were saying that although femicide is on the rise, the president committed the 100 million. We saw him doing that, for these 16 days of activism and the Safe Home, Safe Spaces campaign that they have. Also to work on the policy and laws so that they are strengthened and that the ones that are not enacted are passed. So there needs to be identification of these and to make sure that they become parts of the laws, even for all countries to have their own gender policies, which they're operationalizing. Also, the issue of the political will should be raised. Of course, like I mentioned, the budget's really low. Also, the issue of reporting of cases. So they were asked, an interview of the UN representative was asked, what were you focusing this time on? And he talked about duty bearer accountability. That's the government, whoever's the duty bearer, whether it's the government, whether it is the church, or whether it is individuals that, in the home space, the duty bearer, the one who owes the victim care, duty bearer accountability, and then right holders demanding of their rights. So for instance, like now, we know that some of these cases that have come up, and I was listening to some young people in their own space, and they were talking about it, and they felt that the 100 million was really public, release of that money was public, a public relations thing, because they said we have been talking about this since the beginning of the year and very little has been said by the political class. It is, the NGOs and other wananchi who are really going onto the street and talking about this. So that's what they felt. So when we talk about right holders demanding rights, we know that a category of these people who have been unalived, these young ladies who have been unalived or viciously attacked, are, have met their perpetrators on online spaces. And so they were talking about not making the victims responsible for what has happened to them, because that's the tendency in conversations, to sort of blame the victim for exposing themselves to danger, whereas they should be looking at it the other way around. This is that nobody should be treated in such a way, So we know that some of these victims were found were unalived because they met the perpetrators online. And some examples were, because I just tried to do a scan, and these are representative of them, is like Mercy Kwamboka. She was a university student. About a month ago, she met one Joseph Ngera Kamau, KDF, online. And so him and his accomplice, one Fred Madenge, they caused her to, they put her in a terrible situation, and she ended up unalived. And they met online, and they feel that the investigators felt that it was because she rejected his romantic advances of Joseph were rejected by Mercy Kwamboka, who's a university student. And the issue is, and in discussions, is that if everybody has a right to choose. I mean, she was entitled to reject, supposing that's a right argument. She was entitled to reject his advances. If she didn't want them, she was entitled to reject them, just like, yeah. So
I don't quite understand, because I know that even in our parents and their parents' days, that's normal. That's quite normal, for a man to express interest in a woman and for her to say yes or no, isn't it? I mean, it's not just in the human kingdom, even in the animal kingdom. It's normal. It's expected.
Really, you're right. Even
there's
animals,
nothing unusual at all.
Yes. So that inability for the male, for him to cope with not being able to cope with the rejection of her saying no. I mean, that is now, let's put a pin in that and say, okay, that's a red flag already about that person's personality. The fact that they could not take rejection. Because life is full of rejection. Since when do you go places and you always get what you want? That's not what
Just
life's
imagine
about,
if you apply for a job and they reject you, to go and kill those people.
Yeah.
You see, when you put in your CV and you've applied for a job, it's the same bloody thing. Sorry to say that, but it's the same stuff. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Like, for example, you get a plate of food in a menu, you order a plate of food in the restaurant and you eat it and you don't enjoy it and you reject it. So what are you going to do? Is the person supposed to shoot you for rejecting the food? Or they're just going to go back to the kitchen and just bring you a different plate, or give you your money back? What is that? Where does this come from? This is really sick. Anyway, let me play that Kwamboka for you, Susan. What do you think? Is this a good time? Kwamboka video? Oh, Susan, you've hung up. Let me play Kwamboka here. Susan, you've hanged. Oops. Oh,
I've just noticed
was it me
that,
who hanged? I don't know who hanged. One of us hanged. Should I play the Kwamboka video?
It's me who's hanged. I think
okay.
it's me. Yeah.
Okay, let me be playing it meanwhile while you unhang over there.
Yeah.
All right.
Did I give you that?
I have it. I think
did I give you the Kwamboka one?
Time, 2 suspects, including a Kenya Defense Forces officer, have been arrested in connection with the brutal murder of a University of Nairobi student. 26-year-old Joseph Ngera Kamau was tracked down to a hideout in Komarok estate by DCI officers who followed a forensic trail leading to his capture. Ben Kiri reports on the investigations into the murder of Mercy Kwamboka.
3 weeks after the brutal murder of 26-year-old Mercy Rufansi Kwamboka, detectives from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, have identified and apprehended suspects linked to the case. Joseph Ngera Kamau, a Kenya Defense Forces officer stationed at Mbakasi Barracks, is the primary suspect, arrested on Wednesday in Komarok Estate in Nairobi. Shortly after, his accomplice Fred Madenge was apprehended in Tononoka after walking into a trap set by detectives. Preliminary investigations following extensive interrogation at Kasarani police station revealed that the suspects were the last known individuals with the victim. According to investigators, Kamau had been in an online relationship with Kwamboka, culminating in a meetup on the day she disappeared. The motive for the murder remains unclear, but detectives are probing a possible disagreement after Kwamboka reportedly rejected Kamau's sexual advances. Detectives have requested cold records and mobile money transactions to determine if Kamau had been sending money to the victim during their online relationship. Kwamboka's lifeless half-naked body was discovered in the Infinity area in Mwiki, Kasarani area, showing bruises on her thighs and left ankle. The two suspects are set to be arraigned on Thursday as investigation continues. In a separate femicide case, a diary has offered detectives probing the tragic murder of 24-year-old Christine Nyakio some clues. The diary recovered from her house in Ngong has revealed a strained relationship with her alleged boyfriend identified as Deno.
Hiyo ni hiyo tu Thursday. Nikamwambia, akaniambia na acha niende, nikamwambia na Christine uko na shida gani? Akaniambia mimi hata mimi niko na shida, naona niko na shida. Akaniambia acha niende lakini nitapita hapo. Christine kutoka hiyo siku sikumuona tena.
Christine, a distraught mother Phyllis Wanjiru, recalls her last phone call with her daughter.
Niko na siku kama 3 hatujawahi pigiana simu, lakini nilikuwa naambiwa na huyu unaongelesea Christine, akaniambia ako anje, ako poa, hana shinda. Sasa kukaa hizo siku kutoka Friday kupata habari ni jana, tukaambiwa Christine hayuko, amekufa.
Nyakio's body was discovered on Monday this week, dumped in a swamp in Ngong, Kajiado County.
Alikuwa sawa, alikuwa fresh kabisa. Sisi ndio tulimpeleka Ukangari ya polisi. Sisi ndio tulimtoa. Wakati hata ukimshika ako sawa, ako fresh kabisa. Kwa hivyo inaonekana hiyo kidhaa ndio alitupwa.
Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Oh my God, these are such gory stories. Those are 2 ladies right there. Yeah. There's Anne and then there's Kwamboka. Susan, Susan's having a little bit of problems with her internet, but generally, guys, Fia, I can see you there in the comment section, and I can see other 3 people are watching. I don't know why you guys are not able to get into the StreamYard. If you want to join us in the studio, you have to just go into, I think there's a way that you can get into the studio and join us. I'm trying to remember how this is usually done. I think there's a link. There's a link that I've provided actually. If you go into the comments, because you see, this is a live show. If you go into the comment section, you can see a link over there under African Queen Mo in the comment section. There's a link and it says https://streamyard.com. If you click on that one, then you can join us in the studio or in the comment section. Yeah. But otherwise, if you're on YouTube, you won't be able to talk to us directly. I think this is an issue for some people who are trying to get to us on YouTube or on X. You need to come on through StreamYard in the comments, in the live comment section. There should be this invitation link that I've provided for you. But anyway, yeah, Susan, go ahead and let's talk about that because you've done the research.
Okay, so the Kwamboka case, you can see she had a relationship with this guy online, and then when they met, she seems to have changed her mind about, she didn't meet his expectations, I think, and it ended up violent. She ended up with bruises, thighs and left ankle, and she was unalived, and because of something like that. Another case still on online dating was the case of Starlet Wahoo. She was their videos, the CCTV videos showing exactly her movements from this place to that place and how she met this gentleman called John, and he lured her. Well, they met online, and this guy is a very smooth talker. And apparently apparently she was not the only victim. There was a line of victims, and they all came out after he was caught. And they said he was a sweet talker, he had a smooth tongue. They thought he was, from another country because of the way he would speak. So one said Black American, the other said he had a British accent. And so he had these relationships, and he had this pattern of behavior where he would meet these ladies online and then get them to meet him. and get them to meet them. And he had an accomplice, usually. And so for Starlet in particular, they went to a B&B, an Airbnb, and she didn't come out of it alive. He stabbed her and broke her. What did he cut her vein in her thigh, and she bled to death. And apparently he had this habit of also tying people up and stuff like that. So not only was John unaliving his victims or harm, he was torturing them. He was having sexual relationships with them, and he was torturing them so that he could extort money from them. So he would empty their, accounts, everything, and then send messages to their relatives to try and get money. So he had extreme behaviors. So he was, John has been arrested. Actually, after Starlet's incident, he went to hospital himself because he had a stab wound. So it's not clear whether he stabbed himself so as to avoid, a detection. So he was caught anyway. And so after that, the police suspected his behavior. There was like a pattern. So people have come out, many girls have come out and said how they met this guy, seemed so smooth and what, and they all have injuries from him, some in the neck, the legs, whatever. The other ones, ironing, getting an iron, and and then using sharp objects around the private areas, trying to get them to give the PIN numbers for their bank accounts, give their PINs for their savings, give the and one particular lady said he took her phone, they took the phone, they took her money from the bank, they borrowed on M-Shwari, they borrowed on KCB, they got, put her in so much debt, because of what they did. So this is the other type of person we are dealing with. This is quite a sophisticated case and complicated because he's not just, this is not just sexual, gender-based violence. There's the imprisoning, keeping them locked up in spaces for a period of time, extortion, kidnapping, abduction. There are so many crimes he was committing. And there are a number of ladies who have come out. I counted about 6, who have, since reported the case to the police. Same MO, luring them, smooth talk, taking all their money, viciously torturing them, literally, and he has an accomplice, and 2 of them have been arrested. So we have
let me play that one of Starlet, Susan, if you're okay then. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suspicions of murdering a 24-year-old woman, Starlet Wahu, in an Airbnb flat located in South Bay area here in Nairobi. The man was in the company of Wahu on the night of the murder, as indicated by CCTV evidence collected by investigative agencies. Wahu's lifeless body was discovered in the apartment with blood splatter all over the room. Micah Gungu with the details.
According to information from police sources, the lifeless body of the popular 24-year-old socialite Starlet Wahu was discovered at an Airbnb in South Bay, Nairobi on Thursday. Reports indicate that Wahu had checked in on Wednesday night in the company of a man now identified as 34-year-old John Matara. Surveillance footage from the apartment complex captured Wahu and Matara entering the building's lift, disembarking on the 4th floor, and proceeding to the room they had apparently booked for the night. The following day, suspicions were raised when a security guard observed Matara leaving the property. In contrast to his arrival with Wahu just hours earlier, Matara now had blooded clothes and appeared to be injured in the leg. The security personnel promptly notified the police. Upon investigation, law enforcement discovered a used contraceptive, 2 HIV test kits, and a knife at the scene. The post-mortem report later revealed that Wahu had bled to death from a deep leg wound. Police accounts described the scene as chaotic and violent, suggesting a potential struggle between Wahuu and her assailant. Matara, after leaving the scene, was eventually tracked down and taken into custody at a city hospital, where he was receiving treatment for wounds allegedly inflicted by Wahuu. Matara claimed that he had been attacked by the deceased, resulting in a tragically fatal confrontation. Authorities are actively working to piece together the sequence of events leading up to horrific murder as they investigate the motive behind this tragic incident. Mike Kagwongo, TV47, Nairobi.
Yes, Fia, this man, John, is evil, terrible. Look at that beautiful woman. All these women who are, unalived are reproductive age ladies, most of them, majority, many of them, and gorgeous women, like beautiful women, and it's really unacceptable. I don't even know how we have managed in the last 90 days. The deputy inspector of general of police actually made a statement that 97 women had been alived, but by the time he was making the statement, I was counting over 100. I was already counting over. There was already one that was killed on the day he was talking about. He was talking it. He was sorry, on the day he revealed that information. There was already one lady who was unalived that day, and the same week, several other women were unalived. Yeah, in the same way. So this is the Kenya that, when I say to gentlemen, when I say to the male species in Kenya that I don't have the same, as a woman, I don't have the same feeling of security that they feel. They don't understand it. They're like, oh, stop exaggerating it. It's not an exaggeration. These are women, real women, and it's not necessarily, like you said, sexual. And anyway, since when was it a crime to fall in love, to meet someone you like? This is something that happens all the time, all over the world. It's normal. Like where I live in the UK, having a boyfriend, these kids have boyfriends to the time that they're 12 years old. You don't hear about, boys unaliving girls just like that. They don't. It's not common. It's not common practice. It's not like a big, and that's the reason why it really irritates me when people, when the question is, what was she doing? How did she instigate it? She must have been at fault. She must have said something. He must have been provoked. That's the current situation right now with this Pastor Elias, isn't it? The newest one, the latest one, guys. We always have the latest one. It's like a movie. It's like a movie series, It's like a movie series. Series A, B, C, D. It's like somebody's waiting to hear about the next woman who was unalived. Like you're watching whatever in the city, season 1, season 2. Every day you hear about a woman being unalived in Kenya. Every single day. It's just horrific. It's horrific.
And it's not about, and it's across the ages and across what they're doing. It just crosses all boundaries, It's from, like, somebody is a student and people working and older people. Some of the other cases I looked at and I was able to get some information on. A 24-year-old Christine Nyakeo. She was in an estranged relationship with one Deno, and they got clues from her diary, and she was found dumped in a swamp in Kajiado County. Then there's the case of 23-year-old Seth Nyakeo Jeru. Her body was found in Biafra Thika. Injuries, strangulation, there was sexual abuse prior to strangulation, and it was again intimate partner, an ex-boyfriend, and she seemed to have been lured to this place by a friend of hers, where she met this ex-boyfriend. And apparently, things went. She was found there, and this is a really sad case because Seth is the daughter of the MCA of Kirinyaga. and
Yeah.
she
Of the member of the
will
county
be,
assembly. I must
yes,
expound that
thank you.
acronym for Fia, who is not from Kenya. You know,
Yes,
so yeah, she's a member of the county assembly of
yes,
one of the counties, and she lost her daughter too to this kind of to femicide. A
yeah,
beautiful girl, a university student. Yeah,
yeah,
recently, like 2 months
yes,
ago, not long ago
a
at
month,
all. I think it was
about a
October.
month
Was it a
ago.
month? A month
Yeah,
ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then we have the 3 Somali ladies in the Isili
Yeah.
femicide cases. We have the 3 of them where this is an interesting case though, isn't it? Because it was a lady who paid for the mother to be killed. The second wife paid for the first wife to be unalived, and
Yeah.
it was like it was a hit. Let's call it a hit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because the other 2, her children went to look for her, they were unalived. And the person who's been accused of this unalived a 4th person who was his girlfriend, and her body parts were found in the cemetery at Langata. And it said that it was as if
Yes.
she was what do you call it? She was dismembered and then boiled, and then her
Ugh,
body parts scattered in different places. And in fact, they
Susan, it's
had to get
nighttime.
yeah, I know. It's like a horror movie. I mean, it's not laughing matter, but this
It's
guy
not
was just
funny.
something
It's not
else.
funny.
No,
Mm-mm.
no. It was so terrible what he did. And this
Yes.
was his girlfriend. Apparently, this 4th lady was his girlfriend. And the reason why he unalived her is because she was privy to his activities of being a hitman, because he had unalived these 3 people. So he was
Yeah.
trying to do that. And remember, he scattered their bodies in different parts because their intention was to confuse investigations, so they don't think they're
Mm-hmm.
connected, and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
one body was found in Bahati, the other in Park Road, and then the mother was found in Machakos. And
Mm-hmm.
the injuries were serious body mutilation. I think the child who was 11, was also sexually molested. So this was
Yeah.
just extreme violence. The case is ongoing, and we have an arrest there. We have an arrest also for Mercy
Yeah.
Kwamboka.
Before you move on to the next one, Susan, I just wanted to
Yeah,
expound on the Somali case and say, for me,
yeah,
in terms of the societal response, I thought that was the
yeah,
best societal response of all the
yes,
women I've heard of. Unfortunately,
yes,
it had to come from the Somali community. And it had
yes,
to come from the Muslim community, because what they
yes,
did is that they closed all their businesses when they heard that their
yeah,
3 ladies had been unalived like this. And not even ladies. One of them is a child. She's 12. I think she was 11 or 12 years old. Yeah.
11,
Yeah.
11, yeah,
And she was 11. Just imagine.
yeah,
They actually just came together, and this was led by men, the males. You could just
yeah,
feel as a woman, you almost wanted to change your religion and say, I want to become a
yeah,
Muslim, because you feel like you're going to be protected. The level of anger, the anger with those Somali men, they were so angry, they started waving their flags in the country, almost waging a
yeah,
war. You know, this is not a joke, and even if they knew that, they were suspicious that it could have been something that was instigated by the Kenya police, until they realized that no, this was actually one of them. One of them was, there were some voices within their community that were reminding them that they do have elements within their community that are rogue, and that they
yeah,
should not be suspecting what they call the Kenyans or the Africans or the locals.
yeah,
I don't know why Somalis
yeah,
sometimes think they're not Africans. Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, but yeah, I noticed this, and as a woman, I was like super proud of the Somali community. The Somali men,
yeah.
there was not a single one of them who said, what were they doing going out at night? None of
And
them.
that was wrong.
But you would
Yeah,
have
that was
heard
right.
it definitely from the community, our Christian community. You will hear them ask, our Kenyan men, you will hear them asking, what was she doing? What did they do? How did they instigate it? These guys actually raised money. They paid for the investigation to be expedited.
Yeah,
Yeah. They paid. They
Mm-hmm.
came together,
Yeah,
contributed, I don't know how much, a lot of money probably, for that investigation to
probably.
be expedited. And it was, and they found the culprit, and the culprit happened to be an immigrant, an illegal immigrant from a neighboring country. Yeah. And he had actually come in, forged his papers, gotten a license to drive a taxi, became a taxi driver, having fled his country after unaliving his wife.
Yeah,
That was the story.
one of his wives.
One of his wives, yes. And if you look at this guy, let me tell you guys, another thing I noticed, a lot of these men who are unaliving women are very attractive. Very attractive males. Like you say, smooth talker. This one from Ethiopia was very attractive. And the fact that he unalived these three ladies and unalived the woman who had been considered to be his girlfriend, who used to deliver food to him. And he was living amongst the Somalis. Think about it. He was living amongst the Somali community. You guys, we have, like in many countries, there's always one section, the people kind of like tend to gravitate towards each other. So here we have an area called Isili, which have a lot of, the Somali community working there and also
Yeah.
doing business. And so people who either are, either in business or Somali or Muslim or, from that part of the region of the world, they tend to live and work there together. So this is how this man actually was living amongst his own people and committing heinous crimes right in the center of them. Then he was found with this girlfriend's body parts, which were thrown, dumped at these ones were dumped at the cemetery.
Yeah, and
These ones
scattered.
were,
It was scattered.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
seen on CCTV. Thank God for CCTV cameras, guys. I think it's good to
Yeah.
install them. These
Yeah.
CCTVs are very important. He was found
Yeah.
with this bag full of body parts of his girlfriend, and he dumped them at the cemetery. At the cemetery. And people found body parts at the cemetery. Oh, God. And then they were linked to that lady. They did the DNA
Yeah.
test, didn't they? And then they found that there was a
Yeah.
poor lady. Yeah. And you see that
Yeah, and
she's
I
wearing
think
she's wearing hijab. She was actually wearing
yeah,
hijab.
yeah. And
He
I
is a
think she
serial
was
killer,
estranged
Thea.
from her
Definitely.
family. Yeah, she
Yeah.
was estranged from her family. Imagine this guy seems to have had he has a smooth tongue because she was estranged from her family. So,
How?
to be with this man,
Oh, to be with
the
him.
girlfriend now, the one who was spoiled.
Oh, yeah.
It's
Okay.
terrible, terrible, terrible. So he
Yeah.
admitted to that. He admitted to what he did to her. There's a separate video on that. So we have
The thing is
Lillian.
that
We have. Mm-hmm.
okay, before we even move on to the next ones, I wanted just
Yeah.
to remind the people like even Fia, who is in the comment section, and anybody else who's watching, if you hear about a person who is unalived in Europe or in America, a woman or a child, that person will be on international news. Who doesn't remember about this child called Madeline? What was her name? Madeline McCann.
Yeah,
Madeline
Madeline
McCann,
can.
a little kid.
And they're still
Yeah, a
talking
little
about
Madeline
it.
Can. They're still talking about one life.
Yeah.
One. We have to graduate. Otherwise, we start looking like we are what they used to say we are. You know what I mean? The words that these people used to call us back in the day, very uncouth words that they used to use against the people who are of our skin color. Words like savage. If we do not graduate and see that even the loss of one life is too many, then it will be very difficult to graduate and to justify, ourselves, or to redeem ourselves from
Yeah.
those kinds of terminology that describe us in such heinous ways. Because I know that in African tradition, the loss of a life, taking life, is unacceptable. All over Africa, taking life, it comes with a lot of curses, family curses. So I don't know when we normalized taking life. Taking a life because you argued, taking a life because you're upset, taking a life because you can, taking a life because they're a woman. You don't even want to see them. This thing is going to mess up relationships. It's going to also cause, one of the things I'm worried most about is the backlash, because people can only be oppressed so much until eventually it turns the other way around. People have weapons. People have ways of fighting back.
Yeah, that's true.
Women have ways of fighting back. And if it happens, it will be very ugly, extremely ugly. So I would tell the government that for the sake of men and relationships and families and households, they better arrest the situation before women take it into their own hands. Women and their children, because women will influence their children, to defend them. And it can get ugly, very ugly. Yeah. Anyway, Susan, go ahead.
So there are the two Lillian's cases. The Lillian Mojave, this was in October. Her ex-boyfriend actually notified the mom. He called the mom and said, your daughter is no longer alive. I'm just passing this information. And then he disappeared. And so when they found, imagine.
So he killed the girl and then called the girl's mom.
Yes, and he didn't say he just said she was no longer alive.
And how did they meet? Did they meet online, or these people knew each other then? Then it wasn't even an online relationship.
But it was an estranged. They were dating. They were dating, and I think the lady wanted to come out of the relationship. And in all those cases where the lady wants to get out of the relationship, remember we said this is the most dangerous time for them. So this was an ex-boyfriend, and so she was out of it, but he was not ready for that. He called the mom, notified her that the daughter was, he just learned that the daughter is no longer alive. And when the police found the deceased, they found that she had been strangled. She had been dismembered. Some body parts were missing, her liver and her heart. And she was found in a thicket near Naivasha Road area, without clothes, facing upward. So it was clear that that it happened elsewhere, because you can just the bleeding and all that, they could tell it was happened elsewhere. So
and this brings to mind, Susan, the motive, which could also be what? It could also be organ harvesting. Organ harvesting is one of the biggest problems we have right now in the country. The human trafficking, organ harvesting. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This was by an ex-boyfriend, so it could be even more sinister than that. So and it's all about control. She was leaving, and he took. There's something there. I'm sure the psychiatrist can explain why these particular parts of the body were missing, but like you said, it could also be to maybe like you said, to get some money because of that. So that motive hasn't been.
How do you know why he befriended her in the first place? How do you know?
We don't have that information.
Yeah.
So there was also Lillian Achieng, who is an older lady, Oluko, 33 years old, and she was found unalived in her boyfriend's house in Kahawa West. The boyfriend is at large, and he's called George Mutegi. He's the prime suspect. So what the family knows is that she went to spend the night at his house, and they went out apparently, and there was a lot of chaos in the room. There was a lot of noise. The neighbors tried to intervene, but they couldn't enter the room. There was he had locked the door and everything, and also the music was really loud. So she was found deceased inside the house, and what he had done, there were facial injuries and stab wound behind the right ear. A stab wound behind the right ear. I didn't give that video. And then there's Sharon. The ones I have, the videos you have are for the last case we'll talk about, which is the latest one. 12 days ago, there was Sharon Atieno, also known as Nicole. 19 years old. She was found in a banana plantation in Kiambaa, and she received multiple stab wounds to the neck and stomach area, and the neck area wound was so serious she was almost completely decapitated.
Oh, yuck.
So yeah, so this is the type of viciousness that that we are seeing and that's being reported, and this is what has been happening to our young women. Not just young women, to women, because we know that some of them were older, they were middle-aged ladies and stuff like that. So this is something that we really, really, really need to address. This is somebody who's 19 years old. Actually what happened, her friend, she went out for a walk. This was around the date was coinciding with the anniversary of her mother's demise. And so she was sad. That's what her friend said. She was sad. So she decided to clear her head and go for a walk. It was about 10 o'clock, but maybe to her, it was a safe time to be, outside and stuff like that. So it didn't seem to be unusual, because even the friend didn't say being outside at 10 o'clock was, a problem. So whatever happened, they're still investigating that particular case. So let's get to the big case with the videos. And that is the most recent and current case. That is the one of Florence Wanjiku. This happened on Thursday. And one Jero Mutugi, also known as Elias Jero case. I don't know whether you can show the video of the lady.
Yes, I do have the video, and today being Monday, Thursday was just like 4 days ago, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But in this particular case, the lady, okay, let me play it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Nakuru and its environs are hunting for Elias Jao, a church official who is accused of stabbing his partner, Florence Njeri, multiple times on Thursday. The suspect is said to have escaped from the scene, leaving the victim fighting for her life. Brenda Wanga reports on the incident that has caught the attention of the county and the country.
Florence Wanjiku recuperates at a Nakuru hospital. She was brought here in pain, nursing injuries inflicted on her by a man she knew well, her now estranged partner in life and in business. Elias Njau, a church official with a popular church here in Nairobi, not only attacked her near her home, he also fled and left her for dead. Florence says the differences that led to this moment were both personal and business related.
Other personal issues. Where he was, I requested him to call it a quit, to let everything go. And he also owes me some finances. I was also requesting for that money.
Elias could not take no for an answer and attacked Florence, leaving her with 18 stab wounds and several severed fingers.
Like in my right leg, alikuwa nadunga, then ararua. So I ran away.
She has since undergone the first of a number of surgeries. Her attacker, however, remains at large, but the police say his days as a free man are numbered.
And before long, the suspect will be in our custody. And even before we get to him, he can save us a lot of time if he turns himself up at the nearest police station. Because he can run, but he will never hide.
The attack has been condemned by leaders from the county who are calling for a speedy dispensation of justice for Florence.
We volunteer on pro bono to watch brief for her and her family.
The government is on it. We are determined to bring this to an end. But the government cannot succeed alone. We must all pull together in the same direction.
This attack is the latest in a series of similar attacks that have left tens of women maimed and others dead. The government has pledged to act to end these cases of sexual and gender-based violence that have in some instances turned into femicide. Activists have challenged the government to declare this a national crisis. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
Susan.
So there we have it. This is an intimate partner with violence. They had a dual relationship. They were intimate. They were, in a relationship, and they're also business partners. So we'll watch
Susan,
the
they
video
had
later.
2 children. They had 2 kids. That's a family.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
They had 2 children. One of the children she had was his. She had her own child, and one of them was his. So I found out a little bit, just what is it call it, scanning the internet and scanning the news, that this Jero Mutugi apparently is a Kenyatta University graduate with a Bachelor of Commerce. He was married before. He had a first wife with 2 daughters. Yeah. So with Florence, he has 1 child. But he is with his first wife. He has 2 daughters. So he co-owned a business with his first wife. The relationship didn't work out, so they separated around 2020. He seems to have met Florence about 2 years later. They got into a relationship. At some point later, he became a pastor in the church. He's actually the treasurer there. So in about 2023, he caused Florence to be arrested with their 1-year-old child, saying that she had stolen the company vehicle, that she was driving a vehicle that wasn't hers. And you remember I said they were in business together. And, so she spent the weekend in jail with her child. And he eventually, got her released. But it was him who said that the car she was driving was a stolen vehicle. So Florence, after that incident, decided to start distancing herself from him. So Elias would show up unannounced the home, demanding to see his child. She was trying to sever relationships with him anyway. You heard her saying that she was trying to, she said, call it a quit. You know what that means? Really is just to sever the relationship. So on this fateful day, they had a meeting to discuss in depth more about their business, because they wanted to go separate ways. She wanted to separate herself completely from him. So apparently he owed her some money, maybe it was from the business. And and she also wanted to look at the co-parenting issue, and also separate herself, and also sever the relationship. So that conversation, she thought it was okay. I mean, there's another video where she sort of talks about it, and she says she thought it went, well, they came up with some agreement. But unbeknownst to her, it wasn't. It wasn't. And there's a video that you can show where you can see the video with the CCTV. Maybe you can show that. And
the video with the CCTV with which one, Susan?
There's a CCTV video. Just check.
Of who?
Of Florence, of the attack.
Oh, of the attack. Actually, what I do have is about him being released on bail when he showed up. No, I don't think I got that one. I'll look for it though.
Okay.
I'll look for it. Yeah. Let me play the other one though. Yeah, he showed up. He showed up.
Yeah, he showed up. Yeah, he turned up, and they said there was a CCTV. Show that video actually toward the end.
Is that the one? Okay,
the
that's probably it. Yeah. Okay, fine.
Just show that one. Toward the end, you'll see. But I've told you the time. Remember, I gave you the time, the exact time.
For the accused person.
It's not too long.
Oh, that's the court. This is the court. This is the arraignment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the one that you said about it.
The one I showed you the time.
The prosecution has an opportunity to prove its case against the accused person. So I'll give, there's no reason has been given by the prosecution to compel this court to deny the accused person bail or bond. There is no reason that has been given, and so I will grant the bail, a reasonable cash bail of 500,000 with a surety of a similar amount and cash bail of 200,000. The accused person is instructed not to interfere with the investigations that are still ongoing, and he should not go anywhere near the complainant or the victim of this case.
Okay, that's
Susan,
yeah. That's with regard to the bail. They found him. He actually presented himself to the Nakuru Central Police Station, and the advocate said, "Well, you'll be very surprised that what Florence is saying happened. We have video evidence to show something different happened." But I don't agree with him, because the video that they're circulating, if that's the same video, we'll have a look at it. It's actually, I sent it to you. But so he was arraigned before the court, brought before the Molo court, and you saw the magistrates saying that he has to pay a cash bail of 200,000 and a surety of 500,000. That's like a title or something that's of that value that you're supposed to deposit in the court, and a cash bail of 200,000. So you can see, I think he actually walked out of court, but he had instructions that he cannot go near Florence, and he's not supposed to interfere with investigations. In one of the videos I watched on this case, they said that he actually tried to visit her in the hospital. She alleged that, but the hospital security refused to allow him in because she was in that situation. So let's look at the injuries that she sustained. She sustained 18 stab wounds, 18, and her fingers, some are completely severed and others are fractured. You can see her hand in a cast. So some are severed and some are fractured. I'd like us to watch the video at this juncture, because I'd like us to discuss what you can see.
Maybe you move on to another case, because I
Okay,
have to download it for you.
Okay, so this particular video, and the reason why I want us to pay particular attention to it is because there are two different stories going out. So Florence has her version of it, and Jero has his version of it. So the question is, from your own observation, if that is what happened, if what you can see is what happened, you can think about it. But I was listening to somebody who was analyzing it, and he said his comment was that this video there's something wrong with it. It looks like it has been doctored, and we know that there are experts who can tell whether or not there's been some doctoring or something left out in the video. So there's like along the timelines, you can see disjointed. Somebody was standing here and all of a sudden they're standing there in the next clip, and how did they get from here to there, or something like that. So there could be, the suggestion was that there's something wrong with that particular video evidence. So it has been interfered with in one way or the other. The other thing is the background I was giving you about this man. When we look at intimate partner relationships, some of these things that you can see here are telltale signs that this could be somebody who did not want the relationship to end. And this is somebody who was not going to give up easily. Because don't forget, he had gone through a first marriage and it didn't work. And he was devastated by that. So in fact, they said, he went quiet, underground, played low key, and the next thing people see him after a time is he's now a pastor in the church. So he goes from one extreme to the other. The fact that with his first wife, he used to post about their business, post their children everywhere, and then when he became estranged, they were no longer showing on his timelines or whatever this social media language is about what you post, what you post on your, So his life sort of changed. It was like a different person. And the other thing is he also changed the name that he was known by. So in his first life, if we want to call it that, he was called Jero Mutugi. And now he's been called Elias Jero. So, that change, that, suggests something also. The fact also that he would turn up at her house unannounced, that also tells you something. This was not somebody who was going to give up easily. The fact that he was holding on to monies that Florence was owed, we don't know whether it's because he didn't have the money or whether he was doing it to control her so that she doesn't have freedom just to go where she needs to go, is also telling. The fact that he had her arrested. This is your girlfriend, this is your wife, and you have her arrested and she sleeps in the cell for the weekend with a baby who's 1 year old. That is something that is very, very telling. And all these things to me point to control. There are red flags there that this could be somebody who has an issue with control. This is a person who has issues with accepting the fact that the relationship was at an end. This was somebody who would potentially be quite dangerous to split up with. Definitely from his point of view, he has his own words, because this his side of the story is that she was maybe not very sober when she was driving, but I really want you to see the video, that she was not sober and that he was trying to prevent her from causing an accident. So he has his explanation. Perhaps we'll hear his full explanation in court, and we hope that this case will be investigated well, and the trial will be done in the right way.
Susan, let me give it a shot. I'm not promising. Let me just try and see if it's going to work. I don't know if you can see that.
I'd given some timeline. Yes, just say it.
Jamaa anayeshtakiwa kwa kumdunga kisu Florence Wanjiku amekamatwa na polisi baada ya kujisalimisha katika kituo cha Central jijini Nakuru hii leo. Wakili wa Elias wameeleza kwa mteja wao yuko tayari kushirikiana na wapelelezi kubaini ukweli wa mambo, wakitupilia mbali taarifa iliyotolewa hapo awali na mwathiriwa ambaye ni Wanjiku. Tuungane sasa na Rod Samway kwa maelezo zaidi. Kulingana na Shege Gakohi, wakili wa Elias Mutungi Njeru, mteja wake aliwasilisha katika kituo cha polisi cha Central mapema hii leo baada ya kuwa mafichoni kwa siku 4.
In the morning hours, voluntarily presented himself before the investigative authorities here at the Nakuru Central Police Station.
Wameeleza kuwa hatua ya mteja wao kujisalimisha ni ishara tosha ya jinsi yuko tayari kushirikiana na wapelelezi kubaini ukweli wa mambo.
We also wish to assure the public that the said Elias Mutungi Njeru is ready and willing to cooperate with the investigative authorities for purposes of determining the events of what really happened on the 21st of November.
Hata hivyo, wametupilia mbali ripoti zilizotolewa na Florence kuhusiana na ushambulizi huo.
Is that we are in possession of CCTV footage clearly showing what transpired on that night of the 21st of November 2024. And Kenyans at large will be shocked that the narrative that is currently being peddled by the complainant is completely different from what the CCTV footage has provided.
Picha tulizokabidhiwa za CCTV zinaonyesha kuwa Florence aliondoka katika makazi yake yaliyoko eneo la Olive Inn saa 5:19 usiku akiliendesha gari lake. Dakika 10 baadaye, Elias anawasili na gari lake na kuliegesha nje ya makazi hayo huku akizungumza na bawabu wa makazi hayo. Saa 5:32 Wanjiku anarejea na kuliegesha gari lake kando ya Elias, na baadaye anaonekana akiendesha gari lake ni kana kwamba anataka kuondoka, ila anaonekana akiligonga gari la Elias kwa upande wa nyuma. Upande mwingine wa CCTV unamuonyesha Elias akiondoka kwenye gari lake kwa kasi akielekea kwa gari la Wanjiku kwa upande wa dereva, na baada ya wawili hao kukabiliana kwa muda, bawabu wa eneo hilo anaonekana akikimbia kuangalia matukio yanayojiri. Dakika mbili zinapita na Elias anaonekana akirejea kwenye gari lake na kulifungua kutoka nyuma kisha kuelekea kwenye upande wa dereva, shati lake likiwa na kile kinaonekana kama madoadoa ya damu. Baadaye anaendesha gari lake na kuondoka.
So, so what did you see? What did you see?
I just saw complete confusion. That's what I saw. I saw something like some sort of, I was waiting to see some Chinese movie guy coming with Kung Fu, you know what I mean? It just looked very staged. And some parts are you know, they're faster, slower. I can't see anything. It's so inconclusive. It would not be admissible in court for me. That would not be something that I would admit in court because it's very confusing. There's no name of the street. There's no people passing. Why are they the only cars in the compound? Where are they? What are the landmarks? I don't know. It looks weird. It just looks weird. Just like you said.
Yeah. So actually, it's like outside there where she stays.
Fia said that the
like
sound was not. Fia said the sound was not good. Okay, Fia. It's actually because it was also in Swahili, and you're right. The sound was very, very poor. Also because I think I was sharing my screen. Maybe. What was the sound like for you, Susan?
It was clearer because I was able to watch various versions of it. Actually, I picked a number of videos. When I was trying to get. So it was really clear to me. So what actually happens?
Okay, sorry, Fia.
Is that after the meeting? This is the day of the meeting, right? After the meeting, this is the day of the meeting. So she goes. I think she comes home first, and then she goes out again. She goes out again, and this is so she goes out to. I think she went out to drink or whatever it is, and when then you see him coming in. He's the one driving the big car. So he comes in, and then she comes in a few seconds later, or like a minute later, and then you see her reversing, and then she bangs the car, and then she reverses, then you see him running out from the car and going to the driver's side of her car, and trying to, actually what he was trying to do was trying to snatch the keys, get the keys out, to stop the car and get the keys out. So there's some back and forth. And this is now where the problem is, because all of a sudden the video jumps to a place where the car is backed up in a place where you can't see very much what's going on, and you can see a watchman. There's an eyewitness, actually. That watchman he was talking to in the beginning is actually there. He saw what happened. And he also runs round to the car. He comes round to the passenger side. Then I saw him like running round to the other side, but not through the front, but round the back. So the question is, and then the man, then this guy.
That's right. Why would he run to the back when she has hit the car on the side? Wouldn't he be afraid that she would be coming after him too? What was he going to go do at the back of the car?
No, this is the watchman. The car was now backed
the watchman.
up. He ran round. He came to the passenger side. Then he ran. He didn't run round the front of the car to the
why not?
passengers. He ran round the back. So then we see Jero walking back to his car, picking something from the ground, opening his boot and putting it in the boot, and then shutting the car, and then getting into his car and driving off. So this is
and then
why
they say that his clothes had blood stains.
Yes, his clothes had blood stains. So the question is, we know that
how did he reach her foot? How did he reach her foot in the car and her fingers? So her fingers.
She says in her video, she says there's a longer one which says that he put him, he literally tried to reach into the car. Imagine this: the window is open. She tried to escape. She tried to run away from him, and so, but unfortunately, her window was open. So he put his body in the car to try to stop it and remove the keys. So so you can see he's still actually at the door, and she's really trying to get away from him. And she says in her video that she was pulled out of the car. And this is when the car was backed up. It's backed up and it's stationary now. And she was pulled out of the car, and that's when he attacked her. And interestingly, she has defensive wounds, her fingers. She put her hands up to protect herself. So that's what she says, and it's consistent with, we are all whatever detectives. When you watch all these true crime movies and dramas, they talk about defensive wounds and stuff like that. So she had put her hand up to protect herself.
Yeah,
That's why
definitely. Usually the hand usually sustain injuries. Yeah.
Yeah, so she lost her fingers. Some of them have just lost her
So
fingers.
what did he have? A knife or a panga? Or what did he have that he cut her fingers?
The news is saying a panga, but I don't know whether it's a panga or a knife. But anyway, so
I
he's
don't
got
think
blood.
a knife can cut through bone. I don't think a knife can cut through bone with that. It would have to be a force of a panga or something. Something a machete. And that he might have had in the back of his car.
Yeah, it's just so strange because in fact, one person was saying that she doesn't think
that
she's
would be
telling
premeditated murder. Premeditated. Because he opened the car boot to get out the machete and put it back. That's very premeditated.
We don't see him opening the boot to put in the beginning. We see him opening and
he had it with him. He was planning to do something. So he had it with him
it's
in his
really
driving
strange.
seat.
That's the strangest thing about this case is that how did she get injured? And you can see those are stab wounds, knife wounds, sharp object, injuries from a sharp object.
She said
so how
he
did
kept
she get
cutting and pulling, and a dunga and a pull. So it could be a knife that he was poking her with a knife and then pulling out. So poking the bone and pulling out. And
So
that way
that's how
he
he got
managed
the
to
leg
dismember her fingers.
and her. That's how he got the leg and the back because he pulled her out of the car. So we don't know. So there's something missing in that video that is not complete, and it feels like
it's edited.
Interfered with.
Edited.
Yeah, it's been
It's
edited. So we hope
to try to emphasize the aggression of her aggression towards him.
In fact,
the aggression,
that
the
she
aggression
banged
of
his
the little car, like she hit
she
his car
banged it.
deliberately. But you see, the questions which would come up would be: was she even? Maybe she pressed the accelerator as her hands could not hold on to the steering wheel. She lost control because she didn't have fingers. You see, there's so many.
No.
These people are joking around, man.
No, this is before she banged the car before the injuries. She was trying to escape from him, and
so
for me,
okay,
my
so
interpretation
she was
is
trying to
that
escape. So out of panic, she hit him. She hit him out of panic. You wouldn't be going to cause an accident when you're trying to run away, really, Susan.
No, she was trying to escape. So she banged his car, and don't forget she'd been to the club. So she perhaps had a so maybe the steering was not as good as it should have been. So she hit his car, but I genuinely believe that she was trying to get out of that space. She sensed she was in danger, and she was trying to get away. And you can tell from the way he reacted that she knew that her fear that she was in danger was true. And he got in and he was determined to stop the car. And the fact that he walked away and got into his car and drove off, he drove away
and
left
put
her
something in the back of his car, opened the door of his car, put something in it, and then walked around nonchalantly with the blood on his chest and sat in his car. He should have been screaming. He should have been stressed out showing some sort of stress. There was no
Yeah.
distress in his
And
demeanor
in
in
fact,
any
what
way, shape, or form.
I think the police, when they're investigating, should find his first wife. They might get some insights into his behavior, because we can see two women are trying to get away from him. Then there could be a pattern of behavior that they're not comfortable with. The thing, maybe the very controlling behavior, the one that we says actually leads to people being unalived. If we analyze actually all these cases that we've talked about, they're all about control. All of them about control. Even the dating app issues, it's about control. It's about control.
Susan, are
That's
you
how.
aware? I know we're old school here. Are you aware that dating apps are the new way of people meeting online, meeting and
Yeah,
marrying and having children and families? It's
yeah.
quite
I know some
normal.
people. Yeah,
It's
I
quite
know some
normal.
people who have.
Dating apps don't necessarily have to be unsafe spaces. And in fact, many dating app sites have put in a lot of security measures to try to protect people online. Like, for example, they would ask for things like your IDs. They would ask for alternative email addresses. They would ask for your photo. They would ask for your address. They ask for, because I've been on those sites. I know, and in some cases they also ask you to pay. When you pay, then you provided your Visa cards, your banking cards. So they have even more ways to track you down.
Yeah, yeah,
They can use Interpol and trap you down once you're actually paying online. If you
yeah,
receive money, then you have to provide. There's a way that, if, for example, maybe some people are receiving money through the dating app sites. Let's say the person can actually find a way to trace you down, even if it's not through the dating app. If the person sends you money, they can provide your details for how you received your money. So actually,
yeah,
many dating sites are not as dangerous, and they also advise people, do not meet in a non-public place,
yeah,
because now what has happened is that people are not as sociable anymore. Many people are introverts. Many people are also working from home. The only way to really meet is online, and to meet a wide variety of people and pick. It's
yeah,
really mainly online. So I don't think online dating sites necessarily have to mean that somebody has to be at more in danger than somebody who met through a friend or through family. Because before
yeah.
dating apps came, there was still GBV.
Yes,
Gender-based
that's true.
violence is a very old thing. I
Mm,
mean, we know our grandparents never met on any dating apps, and many
yeah,
of them experienced gender-based violence.
yeah.
Not
It's just the
necessarily
different
femicide.
context.
It's
Yeah,
only that maybe what you can say is the efficiency with which people can do things now is higher. They can
yeah.
communicate quicker. The
Mm-hmm.
time the time with the time frame is quicker, and also
Yeah,
there's a little bit mystery. There's a shrouding of mystery because people don't discuss who they're going to meet. And so anyway, maybe as we close up, we can maybe talk about wind up. Maybe you can tell us how people can keep safe, and we could talk about it. How people can,
yeah,
women can keep safe, and men, but mainly women, because women are the main victims of femicide, for example. When it comes to
yeah.
GBV, what can men do? Men who are being, abused by the women in their lives.
Yeah. The main reason why I was talking about the different contexts, because I talked about the intimate partner relationship where there's an ongoing relationship between two people, and then also the dating app, because I just wanted to present the different contexts of where women have been vulnerable and when they have been unalived or been hurt. And in fact, most of the time there's a higher percentage that women are likely to be harmed. The percentages show that the harm and the injury and the unaliving occurs from somebody they know most of the time. So it's a higher percentage than even from strangers that meet. But knowing that just the two contexts. So when we go back to what can women do? Women, we need, just first of all, we need to be very aware of our surroundings, very aware of our surroundings. And like I said, like we discussed earlier, there's a tendency by the government and men, especially when they're talking about this, to make the victim responsible for what has happened to them, the way they talk, the way they accuse. But that's not the real situation. So women, generally speaking, these are the clues that you might be in a dangerous space. And in the intimate partner situation is the issue of control. Anything that you can see that is trying to take away from you, trying to change who you are, and it's done sometimes very insidiously over a period of time. Trying to determine and control where you go, who you go with, what you're doing, what you're wearing, what you can do and what you can't do, trying to just limit and make your world smaller and smaller and smaller. Whereas you used to be a very cheerful, bubbly person, you're now this really quiet, withdrawn person. Because you get criticized, the language and stuff like that. So your personality is changing, and the people who know you well would say, what's up? They'll know there's something wrong from what's going on. So ladies, just pay attention. Those of you who are about to get into relationships, take your time. Take your time to try and understand the person you're dealing with. Take your time. Find out a little bit about the person's background, where they are from. It might give you some clues, not to say that just because somebody comes from a certain background that they are likely to be that way. We know they're different. Some people go the other extreme. There's some people who come from homes where there's drunkenness and that type of thing, and they have vowed never to touch alcohol because of what they've seen. I know a young man like that. He has seen the terrible things that can happen as a result of it, and he says he would never touch it. He would never touch alcohol. So just be aware of your environment. Be aware that if somebody is trying to rush you into a relationship and you're not ready for it. For instance, this Kwamboka lady that we talked about. This is somebody who had met online and was trying to get intimate before she was ready for it. And because she didn't want it, she got into problems. This is somebody who, it was about control. He wanted to dominate her, and she was not willing to subject herself to that. She wanted a commitment from him, and she was not willing to subject herself to that. And as a result of that, she was now in a dangerous space. So be aware. And like Maureen said, some of the ideas about when you're the dating, online dating, when you meet somebody online, there are rules about where you should go and be in places where public places are not into the intimate places and stuff like that. Then the other thing that you need to know is that don't confuse control and love. Don't confuse control and love. And that's something that people confuse. Because somebody seems to want to give you gifts and that's called love bombing. They want to give you gifts. They'll do bad things to you, and then they'll come and buy you something so splendid and stuff like that. And then they'll make you change your mind about, am I in the right place or not? So be very aware of some of the tactics that can be employed by somebody whom is actually a danger to you and at the end of the day. So they can love bomb you. Yeah. If they try to also change, make you dictate to you who your friend should be, a comment like, I don't ever want to see that one in this house again, but you can invite so and so, that sort of thing. That's infringing, that's infringing on your liberties as a person, as a human being. The other thing is, if you notice things like blackmail, emotional blackmail, for instance, something like, if you don't come with me, I'm going to do something bad to myself. Or if you have children, if you don't, I'll take the children and go, and you'll never see the children again. That is a very dangerous situation to be in, because they know that such people are able to identify what you care about, and then they'll use that, they'll weaponize it against you. So if it's your children, they will threaten to take them away from you, to separate you from them forever, and stuff like that, or whatever it is. and stuff like that. Just going by some of these examples, all these cases that we talked about, what is the common theme? One is the ex-boyfriend wanting to leave the relationship, that sort of thing. That is the most dangerous thing to be in these online situations. Again,
yeah, like Chico had said, she wanted to leave the Elias, the pastor. Even
yes,
a pastor
yes,
cannot take rejection. What a
yes,
shame!
no,
A
no,
whole
but
pastor.
yes. So ladies, just watch out. Somebody who's in a rush to get you to commit, watch out. Somebody who uses blackmail to control you, get out. Somebody who's trying to determine who your friends are and your surrounding things and what you can do and you can't do, that is a dangerous sign. The other thing is, once you decide to leave, don't announce to that person. Do not make any announcements or anything like that. You just plan it and you go. And you
Move
go
in
and you don't.
silence. Yes, Susan.
Yes,
Absolutely.
so that you're
And
safe.
also, let me also talk to the ladies then and tell the ladies as well that sometimes women also make mistakes. Yeah, in
Yeah,
terms of um the motivations why you are with someone should also be checked. Why? What are the reasons? What are the things that draw you to a person? Sometimes
yeah,
women are drawn by the car he drives, the clothes he wears, the shoes he wears, the places the guy takes her, the people he knows and hangs around with. His accent, like you mentioned earlier, Susan, his British accent, the countries he's been to, yeah, the money in his bank account, his stories. Let me tell you, one of the biggest mistakes of the current generation today is going for men because of money.
yeah,
Biggest mistake of any woman's life is to judge a man by his wallet. And this is by his capacity, by his financial capacity only, especially when you use the word only. Yes, it's important. Finances are important. The fact that they work and have an income and have a home and a place to keep you, all that is important. But when it becomes the primary reason why you're with them is to escape your poverty, that becomes a big mistake, because then you become very vulnerable and you soon become accepting of anything he says. He tells you, I'll take you to Dubai. Some of those women, I have flown in planes, I'm telling you guys. I have flown in planes. I have flown a lot. I've been traveling a lot. And I've learned a lot on those flights about people and in airports, about couples, the couples who are in love, the ones who like each other, and the ones who are just there because of what they can get from their partner. It is evident everywhere, whether they're sitting on a flight, whether they're in the duty free, whether they're walking around the airport, you just see that distance. You can see the distance. Even if sometimes you see some people are paired and the only reason that they're together is because of the money. You can see it when the person is not paying attention to their partner, doesn't even have that interest, or even the way they speak to each other, the words that they express to each other. You can see the looks that they give each other, the kind of distraction. Sometimes you see a man with a woman and he's totally distracted all the time. You can also see it with a woman where she, is like rough with a guy. Maybe the guy is being nice, he's carrying all the luggage, and she's just there treating him like crap. Let me tell you guys, I have seen things in this life. And money is great.
yeah,
Money is good, but it should never be the motivating factor while you're with a guy. Never. It should never
yeah,
be. And I don't know how we're going to tell this generation of women. I just have no idea how we're going to tell them, because they're not
yeah,
going to listen. And all this thing about, a foreign man, he's from another place. I've never heard that accent before. He's traveled abroad. That doesn't qualify him to be your guy. Yeah. The fact that he's
yeah,
driving a taxi, he has a car, he has wheels. A
yeah,
man, the Bible also talks about our books of faith tell us about people who are quick to anger, people's temperament. If you see somebody losing their temper easily, that's a huge red flag. People who cannot control their emotions, all those kinds of things are red flags. Don't think that they're going to shout at other people and won't shout at you, or that they won't mistreat you and they'll treat other people. So even an animal, the way a person treats an animal will tell you, or a child. One of the ways to tell your guy whether your guy is good or not is put them in front of your child or your pet. They'll pick it up quick, very quick, and so we carry spirits, we carry energy around us. And if you ask their friends, if you ask people who know them, even the people that we don't even talk to, we don't talk to security. You see, many of these people, watchmen, security guards, they have actually rescued women in these situations. Many of these security guards know a lot. They're like hairdressers. Security guards know the movements of men and women in apartment buildings. So they can tell you whether this guy that you're dating is a serial dater, whether he's actually had a history of blowing up in front of people there. I think that we should know that the people around us, your friend is closer than a brother. A friend, your neighbor is closer than your brother. Rather than ask your brother who lives in Mexico how whether this guy is the right one for you, why don't you ask their security guard? They probably know more about this guy than your brother out in Mexico. Really. And that's an extreme situation. But anyway, I think we have talked a lot, Susan. It's now 11 almost 11:30 Kenya time. We should be winding up. And thank you guys for coming in the comments. I've seen someone who have seen Lynn Robertson Chase. She has been following me, actually, I believe, from Facebook and maybe even on YouTube. And now she's actually in StreamYard, and I really want to welcome her too. Fia, thank you so much for being there, for hanging on. We have one eye looking at us, but we've had a few people on the show, sometimes three, sometimes two. I want you guys to invite your friends. Please invite them to come over and just watch. Let's talk about this issue as women. Let's love one another as women. Let's warn each other about men, because we know them. We know them. Listen to don't listen to all your friends, but listen to some women, because they have experience. They can tell. Yeah. So thank you, Fia. She's also saying thank you, ladies. Thank you, Fia.
Can I just say something about the men, because I picked something up
of
about
course, Susan.
Okay,
Yes,
so
yes.
the men.
Parting shot.
Okay, I was watching a show on 16 Days of Activism, and there are two men who came on, and one is called Dan. He has a foundation called Dan Shie Foundation. It started in 2020, and it looks about, actually he came about because he is a victim of domestic violence, of gender-based violence. His ex-wife threw sulfuric acid on his face. He's now blind. Yeah, he's now blind, a police officer. And to make sure that he could not survive it, she even poured water on the floor and put the electrical appliances. So when he stood up, he got electrocuted. So luckily, his neighbors were close enough to come and rescue him. So he lost his height, he's blind. And so he's a victim of gender-based violence.
Cruel woman. What?
And again, it was about control. They had a disagreement. They had lost a child, and she wanted a child. He was not ready to have the child. Then she wanted to move the baby's clothes, because they had bought some baby's clothes to her house, because they were living in different parts of Kenya, working in different parts of Kenya. And so she wanted to move them, and he refused again. And before she left, she was now going back to her station. That's when she attacked him. She poured the sulfuric acid on his face and wanted to electrocute him. So he's a victim of it. So he started this foundation because he realized that boys don't have safe spaces, because usually culturally boys males don't talk about the pain if they're being beaten by their wives or treated, suffering other abuse. They will not talk about it. So he has started that. There was another gentleman there called Felix Kipenji, who does boys and men advocacy, and he's a gender champion. So he also finds opportunities for young men to be mentored by older men, because he feels that the older men lost the plot at some point, and they left the young men sort of to fend for themselves, so they don't have any mentors. They've been absent. And so these young men have had to try to figure out things like how to date, how to approach women and stuff like that, on their own, and some of them are terrified. And maybe this would explain to some degree why males are taking a backseat when it comes to romances. They're not very as outgoing as they should be. So the other thing I want to mention is that is what do we need to look at? What type of things should we be doing in these 16 days of activism? And we can see awareness creation is a big thing. And it's important for us to be able to have those conversations where to provide tools, different tools for managing conflict, for managing stress, for managing anger, so that it's not something that that you cannot control. How to have a conversation, because women, when we're angry, most of us will really talk at very high volumes, and the man cannot even get a word in edgeways, because we need to speak our 25,000 words, then repeatedly only speak a fifth of the number of words women speak. But I don't know. But so we need to have those, develop those tools, have those conversations. Let's talk and understand the situation. Let's change the way we view one another in terms of genders, our different genders. We may have so that we are able to appreciate one another in the way that we should. And this comes from the family, and this comes from the churches, which have opportunities to have programs to really do that, and training and retraining that we need to have. And this is both of us, both males and females need to be educated on some of these things, because the tendency is to think that for instance, when we look at that no that caused somebody to be unalived, that decision to leave, that caused somebody to be unalived, and yet that choice was theirs to have. So we need to have those deep conversations. So there are some numbers here in Kenya that I want to share with our Kenyan viewers. The DCI anonymous reporting number 0800 DCI anonymous reporting number 0800 722 203. And then there's the helpline, which is toll free for GBV and SGBV 1195. And then for child helpline, toll free again is 116. So let us challenge ourselves. Let us participate in these 16 days of activism. Let us speak to one another. Let us encourage one another to live differently, because these reports, they're so devastating when we see them, when we imagine the devastation to families and the pain that the families are experiencing as a result of all this. I heard one young brother saying he never imagined that he would experience that personally. He watches a lot of these movies and on true crime, and he never imagined it would come home to roost. It will come to his home, not come home to roost, but it's something that he would experience personally. It was very distant from him. So let's recognize that gender-based violence can be against women and can also be against men, that men, the safe spaces there that they need to establish. So there are these two organizations which support men. I hope you got those. Dan Shie Foundation.
How do you spell that?
SHIE SHIE. So it's like one word. Shie Foundation. And that's a safe space for males. And also boys and men. Okay, I didn't get a number for that, but he's called Felix Kithenji. So that's Kithenji with a K, Kithingi. Yeah. So that's all from me.
I think what
today.
we'll do is that every single episode from now for the next 16 days, we will be providing these contacts. Let's remember to provide these contacts. Dan Shie Foundation for Men. And those of you who are going to be watching later after our live show, I don't think I got it completely correct, but she said it's one word, Dan Shie. I will look it up.
It's
But
one word.
we
It's
have the
one word.
DCI number. Yeah, we have the
Yeah.
DCI, the anonymous Directorate for Criminal Investigation number there, 0800 7222203.
203. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we also have the one for gender-based violence, which is 1195.
Yeah, it's toll free.
I hope that they're actually working these numbers, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's in Kenya. And then 1195, guys, for gender-based violence. Yeah. For if you feel like you're in trouble, call 1195. And for children should be told that they can call 116. I believe this helpline was put up a long time ago. I'm
Yeah.
glad to see that it's still working. 116. It's just like the way we have like in other countries, but in Kenya it's 116 for children. So let children be aware in Kenya that they can call this number, 116. And or anybody who knows of a child who's being abused can call 116. And it doesn't have to be the child calling. It could also be you as an adult calling because you keep hearing your neighbor's baby always crying, being abused. You don't know what's going on in that household. You may be afraid to go and check, but you can call a helpline. You can also call DCI. You can call any one of these. I'm sure they would lead you to the right number. So Susan, thank you very much. Are we done now?
Yes,
are you
we
okay
are.
now?
Thank you
We
very
are?
much.
Okay, that's
Yes.
great. Fabulous. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the DCI number, 0800. And all of this, I believe, toll free. That means you don't have to pay any money. So 0800 7222203. Yeah. So it's good.
Yeah.
At least, Susan, thank you so much for bringing us this very valuable and important information. Difficult topic to talk about. Very unattractive to many people, but extremely important. You never know when it's you who needs to make that phone call. You're in town, you're on the highway, you're in a bus, you're in a matatu, you're in an aeroplane, you're anywhere, and you need to call, or you need to at least know that there are these numbers that do exist, or that you hear someone calling you. It could be you who is being contacted because there's a problem. You should know these numbers and write them down somewhere. Yeah. All right. So, Susan, thank you very much for that very, very valuable information and for putting together all those. Of course, there's so many. There are over 500 women who have been unalive, so we can't cover all of them. This time, we've only covered mostly the ones, just over the past few months, this year, just this year alone. All these women who have lost their lives. And we pray that we will change our attitudes towards women, towards this whole issue of femicide, gender-based violence. It's not necessary. It's not needed now. We do not need to be violent to express ourselves or to express our anger. Many ways to do it. So good night and good day wherever you are. Thank you for watching, and let's see you on Wednesday and Friday. Goodbye. It's from Susan and I. It's Tudu Kwaherini. Keep safe. Keep safe. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.